Love and Passion of Catherine II, the main romances of the great Empress. We figure out what made the Empress seek passion outside the marital bed, how ex-favorites introduced her to new admirers, and why she fell into a 9-month depression in 1784. Catherine the Great went down in history as one of the longest-serving and wisest monarchs on the Russian throne. Under her, the borders of the empire were expanded, and more than 100 new cities were built. But Catherine was not just a great conqueror. She also became famous as an enlightened intellectual and a far-sighted pioneer. She corresponded with famous European philosophers, encouraged the development of Russian science and art, wrote memoirs, and even published several children's books of her own composition. Of no less interest to researchers of history is the personal life of the Empress, which influenced her political decisions. During her reign, she had many favorites, which was, however, a very common practice in the 17th and 18th centuries among European rulers. But none of these monarchs could boast of such a large number of lovers as Catherine II had. According to various sources, she had from 12 to 25 favorites. She had relationships with many of them for several years, breaking up mainly due to incompatibility of characters. At the same time, there was no trace of self-interest in her love affairs. Catherine's lovers were often people of humble origin, who conquered the ruler with their beauty and human qualities. She surrounded them with almost maternal care, delighted in communicating with them, and cared about their well-being. After parting with another admirer, she sometimes fell into a prolonged depression, which ended only with a new flare-up of feelings. Many of Catherine's lovers, even those who cheated on the Empress, were given truly royal gifts after the affair ended. They received colossal severance pay from the master, high titles, and luxurious estates outside the capital. As far as we know, she, Catherine II, never entered into a loveless relationship, wrote historian Simon Sebag Montefiore. There is no evidence that she ever approached a man without believing that she was entering into a long and serious relationship. In 1745, the wedding of the German princess Sophie Augusta Frederica of Anhalt-Zerbst, later named Catherine, took place with Peter Fyodorovich Romanov, the future heir to the Russian throne. Read also, Foreign Brides of the Russian Emperors. She was only 16 years old, and this marriage was supposed to strengthen the relations of the Allied states. There was no talk of love, so family life brought little joy, both to Catherine and Peter. I saw very well that the Grand Duke did not love me at all. 2 weeks after the wedding, he told me that he was in love with Miss Carr, the Empress's lady-in-waiting, Catherine wrote in her diaries. Her memoirs also make it clear that their intimate life was either extremely meager or non-existent. According to official data, 2 children were born in this marriage, Pavel and Anna. But it is believed that the Russian emperor was not their biological father. Even Peter himself suspected this, writing, "God knows where my wife gets pregnant from. I don't know probably whether this child is mine and whether I should recognize him as mine." Most likely the Empress gave birth to Pavel from Sergei Vasilyevich Saltykov, who received the position of valet to the emperor in 1752 and was especially close to his wife. 2 weeks after the birth of the heir, Saltykov was expelled from the capital to Sweden amid spreading rumors about his paternity. Contemporaries recalled that Catherine suffered greatly from separation from her lover, began to spend a lot of time in her own chambers, mourning broken feelings. But in 1756, Ambassador Williams arrived at the imperial palace with his retinue. Among the overseas guests was a young Pole, secretary of the English envoy, Stanislav August Poniatowski, who attracted the attention of Catherine. At that time, Peter was already openly in a love affair with Elizaveta Vorontsova, the sister of the famous Princess Ekaterina Dashkova, and he jokingly called his legal wife Mrs. Help, addressing her exclusively on household matters. Therefore, Catherine also decided to stop hiding her favorites, publicly announcing her affair with Poniatowski. Soon the Russian Empress became pregnant, and in 1757 her daughter Anna was born. All the courtiers understood perfectly well who was the true father of the child. However, after the fall of Chancellor Bestuchev, Catherine's lover was forced to leave Russia. However, this was not the end of the Russian Empress's communication with the foreign favorite. In the future, she would help Poniatowski take the Polish throne, and then annex Poland and join it to Russia. In the spring of 1759, Count Schwerin, aide-de-camp of the Prussian King Friedrich II, was taken prisoner to St. Petersburg. He was accompanied by Prince Grigory Grigorievich Orlov, who also acted as the prisoner's guard. This extraordinary man became famous for two things. First, he was a brave officer who was wounded 3 times in the Battle of Zorndorf, but never left the battlefield. Second, he was no less skillful in the love front, and his service record even included a woman whom he won from General Pyotr Shuvalov. Catherine II also fell under the spell of this energetic man. Quite quickly, a close relationship developed between them, in which there was room not only for romance, but also for planning a coup d'etat. With Orlov's help, Pyotr Fyodorovich was overthrown in 1762, and Catherine II took his place on the throne. A few months before this, the Empress and her favorite had a child, who was given to a foster family to raise. Catherine really had strong feelings for Orlov. Their affair lasted for 12 years. After the coup d'etat, she even thought about making their relationship official, but soon abandoned this idea. "My friend, I love you, but by getting married, we will doom ourselves to the fate of Peter III," she wrote to Orlov. Catherine knew that she was far from the only mistress of Orlov, but she was ready to forgive him for his infatuations on the side. However, the prince's frequent travels contributed to the gradual cooling of his relationship with the Empress. And finally, when Orlov left for a peace congress with the Turks in Fuxani in early 1772, Catherine found a replacement for him. Her new favorite was a charming young man named Alexander Semenovich Vasilchikov, who was serving in Tsarskoye Selo. He was extremely handsome and quickly won the affection and favor of the current empress. Their romance flared up like a spark. Even the significant age difference, Vasilchikov was 17 years younger, did not stop the lovers. Catherine's new favorite occupied Orlov's former rooms in the palace, but out of fear of the ex-lover's sudden return, guards were posted at his doors. Fortunately for him, Orlov never returned. But soon Catherine herself began to become disillusioned with their relationship. The young lover was not educated enough and soon bored the Empress. He was replaced by the most serene Prince Grigory Alexandrovich Potemkin, who seemed a much more suitable match for the most reverend Empress. He took an active part in the coup of 1762, after which he began to rapidly advance up the career ladder. In 1774, the Empress highly appreciated his services to the state, granted him the rank of General-in-Chief, and appointed him Vice President of the Military Collegium, bestowing the title of Count. Around the same time, an affair began between them, and their feelings were so strong that in early 1775, they secretly married in the Church of the Ascension of the Lord in Storoji. And in July of the same year, the Empress gave birth to a girl, whom they named Elizabeth. In the spring of 1776, Prince Potemkin went on leave to inspect the Novgorod province, and Catherine again became bored and alone. She turned her attention to the capable administrative figure, Pyotr Vasilievich Zavadovsky, who did not hide his love for the Empress. However, a year later, he was removed by Potemkin's intrigues and sent to the estate of Lyalichi, Bryansk region, granted to him by Catherine II. Despite the fact that Potemkin lost his status as the Empress's official favorite, he still enjoyed her favor and trust. Moreover, he independently selected lovers for Catherine II over the next few years. If the newly minted favorite did not suit Potemkin for some reason, he got rid of him, and the Empress did not interfere with him, relying on his intuition. For this very reason, the handsome hussar of Serbian origin, Semyon Gavrilovich Zorik, did not remain among the Empress's favorites for long. Potemkin condemned his irascibility and willfulness, and advised Catherine to end the relationship with him. The Empress immediately sent the hussar out of Petersburg. But of course, as was her custom, she did not send her lover away empty-handed. She granted Zorik 7,000 peasants and a rich estate in Shklov.